What would you do if a millionaire offered you 45 euros to pretend to be his wife for a week? This is the story of Paula, a waitress from Madrid who received the most unexpected offer of her life. The morning coffee slowly evaporated from the forgotten cup on the table. In the corner, Paula Martin mechanically wiped the counter of the Refuge Cafe, a small establishment in the heart of Malasaña. She mentally calculated if she had enough euros in her pocket for the subway and something to eat. At 24, after 3 years of working there, she was still counting pennies to make ends meet. Her one-room apartment in the center of Madrid cost more than half her salary, but it was the only thing she could afford. Her sick mother's medical bills grew every month like an insurmountable mountain. "Excuse me, miss." Paula looked up. A tall man in an impeccable suit with jade green eyes was looking at her from the other side of the counter. His presence exuded power and money, a stark contrast to the humble atmosphere of the cafe. "Coffee with milk, please," the stranger said in a deep, restrained voice. As Paula prepared the coffee, she felt the man's eyes follow her every move. This wasn't the first time she'd seen him. He'd appeared several times over the past 3 weeks, always ordering the same thing and always observing. The sound of something breaking interrupted her thoughts. Mrs. Garcia, an 80-year-old woman who visited the cafe every morning, stumbled, and her cane fell to the floor. The other customers barely looked up from their newspapers. Without hesitation, Paula stepped out from behind the counter and knelt beside the elderly woman. "Are you all right, Mrs. Garcia?" she asked with genuine concern, helping her to stand. "Oh, my dear, I'm so clumsy," the woman muttered, clinging to Paula's arm. "It's nothing. It happens. Come on, I'll take you to your table." The man in the suit watched the entire scene. Something subtle shimmered in his green eyes. When Paula returned to the counter, he was still standing there, motionless, like a statue. "I'm Lorenzo Delgado," he introduced himself, extending an elegant business card. "I have an offer that will change your life." Paula took the business card with trembling hands. Lorenzo Delgado. The Delgado Group, one of the most powerful conglomerates in Spain. "An offer?" she murmured. Lorenzo leaned slightly forward and lowered his voice. 45 euros to pretend to be my wife for a week." Paula's world stopped. The noise of the cafe disappeared. "Did I hear that right? Is this a joke?" she whispered. "I've been observing you for 3 weeks, Paula Martin. What I just saw confirms what I already knew. You are perfect for what I need." How did he know her name? A chill ran down her spine. "My grandfather is dying," Lorenzo continued almost in a whisper. "His last wish is to see me married and happy. Will you help me fulfill this wish before he leaves?" Paula stared at him, searching for any sign that this was a cruel joke. But Lorenzo Delgado's eyes were disturbingly serious. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you are real. Why wouldn't you pretend to be someone else?" He paused. "I need someone who poses no emotional threat to me." The coldness of his words hit her like a slap. "Not the slightest emotional threat. Think about it," Lorenzo said, leaving on the counter an amount that far exceeded the cost of the coffee. "I'll wait for you here tomorrow at 10:00 a.m. for your answer." He turned and headed for the exit, but stopped at the doorway. "Your mother needs surgery soon, right?" Paula's legs gave way. How did he know about her mother? Lorenzo Delgado disappeared into the streets of Madrid, leaving behind the scent of expensive perfume and the echo of an offer that Paula knew would change her life forever. But the question that tormented her all night was simple and terrifying. Was she willing to sell herself to save the one she loved most? Paula didn't sleep. She lay in her tiny apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling, while Lorenzo's offer echoed in her mind like a relentless refrain. 45 euros, a fortune for someone like her. She picked up the phone and dialed the hospital. "Dr. Mendoza, I'm Paula Martin, Carmen Martin's daughter. I wanted to know the cost of the surgery." The answer took her breath away. 35 euros. If she accepted Lorenzo's offer, she would not only be able to pay for her mother's surgery, but she would also have money left to live decently for several months. At exactly 10:00 a.m., Lorenzo Delgado was sitting at the same corner table, as if he had been waiting for her all night. This time he was in a dark gray suit, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the wooden surface. Paula approached slowly, her legs trembling. "What exactly will my duties be?" she asked without preamble. A barely perceptible smile flickered across Lorenzo's lips. "Accompany me to social events, meet my family, play the role of a loving wife. Nothing more. And after 7 days, each will go their own way. You'll get the money. I'll fulfill my promise to my grandfather. a fair exchange. Paula closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her mother confined to a hospital bed. I agree, she said. Lorenzo nodded, as if he had been sure of her answer from the beginning. Excellent. Tomorrow at 9:00 a.m., a car will pick you up at your apartment. They will take you to La Moraleja, where you will live all week. La Moraleja? Paula barely concealed her surprise. It was one of the most prestigious areas of Madrid. My home, Lorenzo simply said. I hope my housekeeper prepares everything necessary. Clothes, jewelry, everything a wife of Lorenzo Delgado should have. He stood up and tossed a small velvet pouch onto the table, an advance of 0 euros to pay her mother's most urgent bills. Paula opened the pouch with trembling hands. She had never seen so much money together. There's only one rule, Paula. Lorenzo's voice became more serious. During these 7 days, you will be entirely mine. Every gesture, every word, every glance must convince my family that we are madly in love. Can you handle it? The question hung in the air like a dangerous promise. Yes, Paula whispered, though she wasn't sure if she could pretend so sincerely. Lorenzo approached, took her hand, and gently kissed the back of her palm. The contact was like an electric shock. Welcome to my world. That night, Paula packed her few belongings into a worn suitcase. The next day, her life as a waitress from Malasaña would end, and her performance would begin, the role of the wife of Madrid's most powerful man. She didn't yet know that in 7 days, her heart would be at stake in a way she never could have imagined. A black car picked her up at exactly 9:00 a.m. It was larger than her apartment. As the iron gates of the Delgado mansion swung open before her, Paula realized she had crossed a line from which she might not be able to return. But for her mother's sake, she was ready to play the most important role of her life. The Delgado mansion stood before Paula like a palace from a fairy tale. Perfectly manicured gardens stretched to the horizon, marble fountains sang watery melodies, and the main house looked as if it had stepped off the cover of an architectural magazine. My God, Paula whispered, stepping out of the car with trembling legs. A middle-aged woman with graying hair pulled into an elegant bun and dressed in a uniform approached her. The immaculate woman approached, smiling. You must be Paula. I'm Esperanza. Welcome home. Home? Paula almost laughed at the irony. Her home would fit in the hallway of this mansion. Mr. Lorenzo is currently in a meeting, but asked me to show you to your rooms. Esperanza continued, leading her to what seemed like an endless marble staircase. My rooms? Paula swallowed. Plural? Of course, dear. The master suite includes a bedroom, a separate bathroom, a walk-in closet, and a living room. Plus, Mr. Lorenzo ordered clothes in your size. Esperanza opened double-carved oak doors, and Paula's heart seemed to stop. The room was the size of 3 of her apartments, with a canopy bed in the center, made with silk sheets that seemed to cost more than her annual salary. The windows offered a breathtaking panoramic view of Madrid. The dressing room is here, Esperanza said, opening another door. Paula, with uncertain steps, entered a room full of dresses, shoes, and accessories she had only dreamed of. Everything was exactly her size, as if Lorenzo had studied every inch of her body. How could he know? Paula began to ask. Mr. Lorenzo is very meticulous when something interests him, Esperanza replied with a mysterious smile. Know that I've worked for this family for 20 years and have never seen him care so much about details in something like this. A chill ran down Paula's spine. Care or just control? Esperanza, may I ask a question? Of course, dear. Why does Lorenzo need a fake wife? He's rich, handsome, and influential. He could surely have any real woman. Esperanza's face slightly clouded. Mr. Lorenzo has long been closed off from love. His grandfather, Don Eduardo, is the only person he truly loves, and he is very ill. To see his grandson married and happy is the only thing that can give him peace before he leaves. But why pretend? Why not seek real love? Esperanza approached and maternally placed her hand on Paula's shoulder. Because Lorenzo Delgado is afraid to love, dear. And when such a powerful man is afraid, he builds high walls to protect himself. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Lorenzo appeared in the doorway of the dressing room, and the air instantly grew thicker. He had changed his suit for dark trousers and a white shirt that mesmerized with his green eyes. I see Esperanza has settled you in well, he said, appraising Paula from head to toe. Everything is simply amazing, Paula managed to say. But I don't think I need all this for a week. Lorenzo took a step forward, and Paula smelled his masculine cologne mixed with something uniquely his. Paula, for the next 7 days, you are not a waitress from Malasaña. You are Mrs. Delgado and my wife. You cannot wear secondhand clothes. The coldness of his words hit her like a punch, a cruel reminder that for him, this was just business. By the way, Lorenzo continued, tonight we are having dinner with my mother. This will be our first test. Your mother? Paula felt panic creeping in. Shouldn't we practice first? She asked. Lorenzo moved even closer, so close that Paula felt the warmth of his body. The secret to a good performance, Paula, is not to act at all, but simply to feel. His fingers gently touched her cheek, making her tremble. Understood? Lorenzo's green eyes darkened. That's what we'll find out tonight. With those words, he left the dressing room, leaving Paula with a wildly beating heart and the frightening certainty that she had gotten herself into something much more dangerous than she had imagined. The game was just beginning, but Paula already doubted whether she could distinguish fiction from reality when it came to Lorenzo Delgado. The dress Esperanza chose was made of dark blue silk, elegant but not ostentatious, with a cut that accentuated her figure without being vulgar. When Paula looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Light makeup and a swept-up hairstyle transformed her into a woman who truly could belong to Madrid's high society. Are you nervous? Lorenzo observed, seeing her descend the stairs. Terrified, to be precise, Paula confessed, clinging to the railing. Lorenzo approached and offered her his arm. Carmen Delgado is my mother, he said, a special woman. She's been asking about you ever since I mentioned our engagement. You said we were engaged? Paula nearly stumbled on the last step. I needed to explain why you suddenly appeared in my life, Lorenzo replied, leading her into the dining room. Remember, we've been meeting secretly for 6 months. We met at an art gallery in the literary quarter. Paula nodded, trying to remember the fabricated story. The dining room was a symphony of elegance. A mahogany table for 12, crystal chandeliers casting golden light, and windows framing the illuminated gardens like an impressionist painting. Carmen Delgado was already sitting at the table, a woman of 60, with hair as dark as Lorenzo's and a posture that exuded authority. Her steel blue eyes immediately appraised Paula. So, you're the mysterious Paula, Carmen said without standing up. Lorenzo has been very discreet about you, she added. Pleased to meet you, Mrs. Delgado, Paula replied, extending her hand. Carmen scrutinized her before shaking her hand. Sit down, dear. I want to get to know the woman who captured my son's heart. During dinner, Carmen asked Paula subtle but penetrating questions about her family, education, and future plans. Paula answered with half-truths, feeling the tension rise with each question. And what do you think of Lorenzo's affairs? Carmen asked, delicately cutting her salmon. I admire his dedication, Paula replied carefully. What he has built is impressive. Are you thinking about children? Paula almost choked on her wine. Mother, Lorenzo intervened with a warning tone. It's a legitimate question. At that moment, the doorbell rang throughout the house. Esperanza entered the dining room with a worried expression. Mr. Lorenzo, Miss Alejandra is here. She says she needs to speak with you urgently. Paula felt Lorenzo stiffen beside her. Who is Alejandra? He asked. Tell her it's not a good time, Lorenzo replied firmly. I'm afraid she's already coming this way, Esperanza whispered. At that moment, a blonde woman in an elegant dress burst into the dining room. Alejandra Vega was the epitome of aristocratic sophistication. Her platinum blonde hair fell in perfect waves over her shoulders, and her designer dress probably cost more than Paula's apartment. She moved with the confidence of someone born into privilege. Lorenzo, darling, Alejandra said, completely ignoring Paula. Aren't you going to introduce me to your guest? The word guest sounded poisonous. Alejandra, this is Paula Martin, my fiancée. Lorenzo replied calmly. Alejandra's blue eyes pierced Paula like icy daggers. Fiancé? How unexpected. And tell me, Paula, what do you do? I'm a nursing student, Paula lied, feeling her cheeks burn. How noble. Alejandra smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Lorenzo always had strange tastes. Alejandra said quietly, I think you'd better leave as soon as possible. Lorenzo's voice became dangerously low. Alejandra, but I barely know you. Your fiancé must be very special for you to forget about our 5 years of relationship in such a short time. Something broke inside Paula. The humiliation burned her like acid. She rose from the table, trembling with anger and pain. Excuse me, miss. Paula and Lorenzo spent a night confessing their fears and dreams in the garden, realizing their connection had deepened beyond their initial arrangement. As morning arrived, Paula felt truly alive, and Lorenzo's usual cold demeanor was replaced by a genuine warmth. Over breakfast, Lorenzo expressed that his time with Paula had been the most real of his life, and that he didn't want it to end. Their moment was interrupted by the arrival of Alejandra, Lorenzo's ex-fiancée. Despite Lorenzo's attempts to avoid her, Paula insisted on facing her, asserting that she couldn't run from challenges if their relationship was to work. In the main hall, Alejandra revealed the truth about Lorenzo's initial intentions, presenting documents and photos proving he had researched and chosen Paula specifically because of her vulnerability and financial need. Seeing her as easily controllable, Paula was horrified, looking to Lorenzo for denial, but finding only guilt and confirmation. When he whispered yes to her question about the deception, Paula's world collapsed. Feeling like a fool, she accused him of lying and being incapable of love. Despite Lorenzo's pleas that his current feelings were real, Paula ran to her room, determined to leave. As Paula packed, Esperanza, the housekeeper, tried to convince her that Lorenzo had genuinely changed and his pain was real, but Paula was resolute in her decision to leave. From the window, Paula overheard Lorenzo shouting at Alejandra, defending Paula and confessing, "She's the woman I fell in love with, and because of you, I lost her." Despite this revelation, Paula felt their worlds were too different and left in a taxi, determined to put Madrid and Lorenzo behind her. At Atocha station, Paula intended to take the first train out of Madrid. Esperanza found her and gave her a letter from Lorenzo, in which he explained his initial calculations but stated that his love for Paula had grown genuinely and deeply. As the train for Barcelona was announced, Paula hesitated. Lorenzo then appeared, disheveled and desperate, and publicly knelt, proposing with an engagement ring. He confessed his love, regretting his past lies, and asked for a chance to prove his sincerity. Seeing his genuine fear of losing her, Paula accepted, asking him to propose again without secrets or contracts. The station erupted in applause as Lorenzo placed the ring on her finger. Paula chose to stay, knowing her feelings were irrevocably real, and the train to Barcelona left without her. 3 months after the proposal, Paula and Lorenzo built a new, comfortable life in the Salamanca district of Madrid. Paula returned to nursing studies, supported by Lorenzo. Their relationship was filled with genuine moments, like Lorenzo's comical attempts to cook a Spanish omelet. Lorenzo admitted that his past relationship with Alejandra lacked the realness, laughter, and desire for self-improvement that Paula inspired in him. He valued their simple life together above his former glamorous existence. Lorenzo expressed his desire for Paula to meet his grandfather, confident that his happiness with her would win his approval. Their happiness was soon tested as Lorenzo planned a special day. He transformed their house with flowers and prepared Paula's favorite breakfast. He re-proposed to Paula, stating his desire for an official marriage, not just one born of desperation. As part of the surprise, Paula's mother Carmen arrived, fully recovered from her surgery. Lorenzo then revealed he had brought her grandmother's treasured porcelain cups. Kneeling again, Lorenzo presented Paula with his Andalusian grandmother's vintage engagement ring, symbolizing history and tradition. At first. Then Paula's world collapsed. She felt like the biggest fool on the planet. How could she think that someone like Lorenzo Delgado was capable of truly falling in love with her? "I hate you," she said, her voice breaking. "I hate you for making me believe it was real." "Paula, please let me explain," he pleaded. "At first I did study you, chose you out of calculation, but what I feel now is real, completely real." "Liar," Paula cried. "Everything was a lie from the beginning. I'm nothing more than a purchased toy." She headed for the door, but Lorenzo caught up and grabbed her arm. "Don't touch me," Paula screamed, pulling away. "Never touch me again." "Paula, please." "Alejandra was right," Paula said, wiping away tears. "You're incapable of love, and I was foolish enough to believe you could." Without a word, Paula ran out of the hall, quickly went up the stairs, and locked herself in her room. She fell onto the bed, sobbing until her tears ran dry. Outside, she heard Lorenzo yelling at Alejandra, but she no longer cared. She was a fool, thinking she could be more to him than just a business deal. It was time to get away from Lorenzo Delgado and his world of golden lies. But first, she needed to pick up the pieces of her broken heart. Paula gathered her few belongings with trembling hands, ignoring the expensive dresses Esperanza had prepared. She wanted to take only what was hers, Nothing that smelled of dirty money or exquisite lies. Tears gave way to a cold fury that kept her moving. Each time she recalled the look of guilt on Lorenzo's face, the pain in her chest intensified. How could she have been so naive? A soft knock on the door made her stop. "Pau?" Esperanza's voice asked. "May I come in?" Paula didn't answer, but Esperanza entered without an invitation. Her maternal face contorted upon seeing the tears on Paula's cheeks. "Oh, child, what happened?" "I'm leaving," Paula said, closing her suitcase harder than necessary. This was a mistake from the beginning. "Is it all because of Miss Alejandra's visit?" Paula turned to her, surprised by the older woman's perceptiveness. "She showed me the truth. Lorenzo studied me, chose me like merchandise in a store. He made me believe he felt something real for me, but it was all calculated from the start." Esperanza sighed deeply. "Paula, I've seen Lorenzo change in these few days with you, more than in 20 years of working here. It wasn't just a game. No, dear, feelings can't be faked when no one's watching. I've seen how Lorenzo looks at you when he thinks no one notices." Paula shook her head, refusing to believe. "It doesn't matter. In the end, I'm just a toy bought for 45 euros. And where will you go?" Paula hesitated. She hadn't thought about it. The apartment was still hers, but how would she explain all this to her mother? How would she pay for the operation now? "I don't know," she admitted, "but I can't stay here." Esperanza approached and took her hands. "At least talk to him before you leave. Give him a chance to explain." "He already explained," Paula confessed. "It was all a lie, or just the beginning." Before Paula could reply, they heard loud voices from the garden. Approaching the window, they saw Lorenzo shouting at Alejandra by the fountain. "You're crazy if you think I'm grateful for this," Lorenzo yelled. "You just destroyed the only real thing in my life." "Wake up, Lorenzo," Alejandra replied. "She was just a waitress. You can buy 10 more like her." Lorenzo approached Alejandra with an expression he had never shown before. Pure fury. "Paula is worth more than all the women in your social circle combined. She is real, sincere, everything you will never be. So what? In the end, she's just your servant," Alejandra shouted. "No," Lorenzo yelled. "She's the woman I fell in love with, and because of you, I lost her." Paula felt the air leave her lungs. Lorenzo said he had fallen in love with her. "So she's at your house?" Alejandra said sarcastically. "Go fix things." "How? How can I tell him that, even though it was all calculated at first? My feelings are real. How can I explain that I fell in love with him without realizing it, and the thought of losing him is killing me?" Alejandra laughed cruelly. "You can't, Lorenzo, because we both know that deep down, you're still the same cold person, incapable of love, that you've always been." Lorenzo fell silent for a moment, and Paula saw from the window how his shoulders slumped under the weight of those words. When he spoke again, his voice was barely audible. "You're right. I'm a coward who doesn't know how to love, and Paula deserves much more, someone better than me." Paula felt her heart break in a new way. Not from anger, but from the absolute despair in Lorenzo's voice. "Esperanza, can you call me a taxi?" "Are you sure, dear?" Paula nodded, though tears streamed down her cheeks again. "I'm sure. This will never work. We're two different worlds." An hour later, Paula was in the back seat of a taxi, speeding away from the Delgado mansion. In her bag were the 10 euros advance Lorenzo had given her, enough to pay for at least part of her mother's medical bills. Madrid blurred outside the window, and Paula promised herself never to be so naive again. Fairy tales don't exist for people like her, and Lorenzo Delgado had become a painful but necessary lesson. She didn't know that at that very moment, Lorenzo sat in his office, staring intently at a small velvet box with a ring, wondering if he had forever lost his only chance at happiness in his life. Paula arrived at Atocha station with a broken heart and a fierce determination to leave Madrid as far behind as possible. The station's noise enveloped her like a familiar embrace. Voices in different languages, the metallic sound of arriving and departing trains, the aroma of coffee and pastries from the cafes. She approached the information desk, wiping her swollen eyes. "What's the next train leaving anywhere?" The clerk, with a worried look, asked, "Are you all right, miss?" "I just need to leave Madrid. What's the next train?" "There's a train to Barcelona leaving in an hour, and one to Seville in 40 minutes. "To Barcelona," Paula said without hesitation, the farthest place from Lorenzo Delgado. She bought a ticket with trembling hands and headed to the waiting area. She sat on a bench, hugging her suitcase as if it were a lifesaver. Her phone rang. It was Lorenzo. She ignored the call. He called again and again until she turned off her phone. A familiar voice made her look up. Esperanza stood before her with a worried and determined expression. "What are you doing here?" Paula asked. "I came to bring this," Esperanza said, sitting beside her and handing her an envelope. "It's from Lorenzo. I don't want anything from him. I've worked for this family for 20 years. I saw Lorenzo turn into a cold and calculating man after many disappointments and betrayals. But with you, I saw the man he could be if he learned to trust. It wasn't a game. Esperanza, have you ever lied to me?" Paula shook her head. "Then believe me, when I say the pain in his eyes right now is real, more real than anything I've seen in him in years." Esperanza stood up. "Read the letter, Paula, and then decide with your heart, not your pain." When Esperanza left, Paula stared at the envelope for a long time. Finally, she opened it and began to read. "Paula, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did is unforgivable, but I need you to know the whole truth, not the poison version Alejandra showed you. Yes, I studied you. Yes, I chose you at first out of calculation. I needed someone who posed no emotional threat, someone I could keep at a distance. But from the very moment I saw you helping Mrs. Garcia in the cafe, something changed. I saw a genuine kindness I hadn't seen in years. Every day with you, every conversation, every smile of yours broke down the walls I had built around my heart. I fell in love with you without realizing it. With your smile, with your care for others, with your strength and ability to see the good in people. I fell in love with a woman who made me want to be better. What we shared in the garden last night was not a game. It was the most real feeling of my life. If you give me a chance, I want to spend the rest of my days proving to you that my feelings are sincere. I know I have no right to ask this after the lies, but if there's a place in your heart for forgiveness, I'll be waiting for you in the garden where we confessed our feelings to each other. I love you, Paula Martin, and I regret not realizing it sooner. Lorenzo." Paula finished reading, tears streaming down her cheeks, her heart beating fast, lost between love and pain. Over the loudspeaker, the departure of the train to Barcelona was announced. Paula stood up, grabbed her suitcase, and headed for the platform. But halfway there, she stopped. What if Esperanza was right? What if Lorenzo had really changed? What if his feelings were real? She turned and saw Lorenzo running towards her through the station, followed by Esperanza. His hair was disheveled, his suit wrinkled, and in his green eyes was a desperate plea, one she had never seen before. "Paul!" he shouted, stopping a few meters away. "Please, don't go." "Why shouldn't I?" she asked, though her voice trembled. Lorenzo slowly approached, as if afraid she would run away. "Because I love you. Because you are the best thing that has happened in my life. Because without you, I am an empty man with money. How can I believe you after all the lies?" Lorenzo did something that surprised everyone present. He knelt in the middle of the station, under the gaze of hundreds of people. "Then don't believe my words," he said, taking out a small velvet box. "Believe my actions." He opened the box, revealing an engagement ring, a breathtaking ring. A single diamond, elegant but not ostentatious, surrounded by small emeralds that harmonized with his green eyes. "Paula Martin, I know it all started with a lie, but I want to end it with the truth. I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life making up for the pain I caused. I want to be the man you deserve. Will you give me a chance to prove that love can be born even from the most mistaken beginnings?" Paula looked first at the ring, then at Lorenzo, kneeling before her, and finally, deep into her soul. Could she forgive? Could she trust again? "Last call for the train to Barcelona," announced the loudspeaker. Paula had to choose: run away to a new life without Lorenzo, or stay and risk being hurt again. At that moment, she saw something in Lorenzo's eyes that convinced her. Fear, a real fear of losing her. She realized that a man who had controlled everything his whole life would not kneel in public if his feelings weren't absolutely sincere. "Get up, Lorenzo," she said softly. He slowly rose, hope and fear battling on his face. "Ask me again," Paula whispered, but this time without secrets, lies, or contracts. Just two people who, perhaps, can learn to love truly. A smile lit up Lorenzo's face like dawn. "Paula Martin, do you want to be my wife? Do you want to build something real and true with me?" Paula extended her left hand, trembling with emotion. "Yes, Lorenzo Delgado, I want to try. As Lorenzo placed the ring on her finger, the entire station erupted in applause. For the first time since they met, Paula understood that her feelings were absolutely and irrevocably real. The train to Barcelona left without her, but Paula had already chosen her path beside the man she had learned to love in the most unexpected place of all. 3 months after the proposal at Atoka Station, Paula and Lorenzo built a new life together that was completely different from anything either of them could have imagined. They left the luxurious mansion in La Moraleja and moved into an elegant but cozy house in the Salamanca district. The house was spacious enough to be comfortable, yet cozy enough to feel like a real home. Paula returned to Complutense to finish her nursing degree, and Lorenzo not only supported her but proudly funded it. I want you to be yourself, genuine, he told her, not some edited version for my world. That Saturday morning, Paula woke to the smell of something burning in the kitchen. She put on her robe and went downstairs to find Lorenzo, dressed only in pajama bottoms and an apron with chef written on it, struggling with what was once a Spanish omelette. What's that supposed to be? Paula asked, laughing. Lorenzo turned with a look of disappointment that was charmingly childish. It was supposed to be the perfect Spanish omelet. YouTube tricked me into thinking it was so simple. Paula approached and took the pan, inspecting the smoking mess. Darling, did you know you have to cook the potatoes before adding the eggs? Ah, Lorenzo said, as if he had just discovered the theory of relativity. That explains a lot. Paula shook her head with a smile. Lorenzo Delgado, CEO, managing a multi-million euro empire defeated by a Spanish omelet. It was one of her favorite of his manifestations. Come here, she said, taking his hands. I'll teach you. Over the next hour, Paula patiently explained to Lorenzo how to make a decent Spanish omelet. Their hands touched as they cut potatoes. Their bodies pressed against each other as they leaned over the stove, and Paula fell in love with him all over again in these small domestic moments. You know, Lorenzo said, hugging her from behind as they waited for the omelet to cook, I never thought cooking with someone could be so intimate. You never cooked with Alejandra? The question slipped out before Paula could stop herself. In these 3 months, she had deliberately avoided mentioning his ex, but sometimes curiosity got the better of her. Lorenzo tensed slightly. Alejandra didn't cook. She had a personal chef. In fact, I think the only time I saw her in the kitchen was when she was firing the housekeeper. Paula turned in his embrace. Don't you miss her? I mean, 5 years is a long time. Lorenzo looked at her with an intensity that always made her feel like the only person in the world. Paula, what I had with Alejandra was convenient, predictable. It fit the standards of my world, but it was never real. It never made me want to be better. It never made me laugh when I burned an omelet on a Saturday morning. And that's enough for you? A simple life with me instead of all that glamorous life you had before? Lorenzo took her face in his hands. Paula, before you, my life was a series of meetings, deals, and empty social events. I had money, power, respect, but never happiness. Now, when I come home and see your face, when you make me laugh because I talk about real estate deals in my sleep, when you give me these perfect and imperfect moments, it's worth more than everything I had before. The omelet burned again, but neither of them noticed, because they were too busy kissing in the kitchen, with the taste of promises on their lips. That day, walking hand in hand through El Retiro Park, Lorenzo suddenly stopped. Paula, there's something I want to ask you. What? She asked. I've been thinking about my grandfather. I want you to truly meet him, not as part of a show, but as my real fiancé. Paula felt a pang of nervousness. Do you think he'll like me? I mean, when he finds out I'm actually a waitress from Malasaña. He'll like it, Lorenzo interrupted, because he'll see in you what I see, an extraordinary woman who makes me more human. What if he doesn't approve of our engagement? Lorenzo stopped and looked at her. My grandfather only wants me to be happy. And with you, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. That's all he needs to know. That evening, dining in their small, candlelit dining room, Paula reflected on how different her life had become. There were no servants, no daily social events, no constant pressure to seem like someone else. Instead, there were intimate dinners, late-night conversations about everything and nothing, simple weekend plans, and a growing feeling that she had found her soulmate in the most unexpected place. What are you thinking about? Lorenzo asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. About how 3 months ago, if someone had told me I'd be engaged to Lorenzo Delgado and that he'd be learning to make Spanish omelets, I would have laughed until I cried. And now? Paula smiled, reaching out to touch him. Now, I know that sometimes the best love stories begin with the most ridiculous proposals. Lorenzo raised his wineglass. To ridiculous proposals that turn into true love, and to powerful men who are willing to humble themselves before Spanish omelets, Paula added, clinking her glass with his. As their glasses softly clinked, they both knew they had found something money couldn't buy. The simple and perfect happiness of two people who had learned to love each other for who they were. But neither of them knew that their happiness would soon be tested in ways they could not have dreamed of. Sunday arrived with an exceptionally blue Madrid sky, as if the universe itself conspired to make everything perfect. Paula woke up, and Lorenzo was already on his feet, which was unusual for a Sunday. They usually spent their weekend mornings in bed, lazily discussing plans for the day. Lorenzo called out to her, but she only heard noise from the first floor. Putting on her favorite robe, Paula went downstairs and found the house transformed. Fresh flowers on every available surface, aromatic candles creating a warm and cozy atmosphere, and the smell of an exquisite breakfast wafting from the kitchen. "What's going on here?" she asked, finding Lorenzo in the kitchen in a white shirt and dark trousers, more formal attire than usual for a Sunday at home. Lorenzo turned, and Paula saw that he was nervous, which was strange. In these months together, she had seen him tackle million-euro deals with less anxiety. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, approaching to kiss her. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, but, Lorenzo, what's happening?" "The house looks prepared for some special occasion." "Perhaps," he replied mysteriously. "Are you hungry? I made your favorite breakfast." Paula looked at the elegantly set table with the fine china they only used for special occasions. There were French toasts with strawberries, freshly ground coffee, and natural orange juice in crystal glasses. "Lorenzo, this is lovely, but you're making me nervous. What are we celebrating?" "Sit down," he said, pulling out a chair. "I have something important to tell you." Paula sat down, her heart starting to beat faster. She wondered if she had done something wrong, if he had changed his mind about the engagement. Lorenzo didn't sit in his chair but stood by the window, looking out into the garden with a thoughtful expression. "Pow, these last 3 months have been the best of my life. Every day with you has taught me something new, about love, about happiness, about what truly matters." "Sounds like you're about to break up with me," Paula said quietly. Lorenzo quickly turned. No, darling, quite the opposite." He approached and took her hands. "Paula, I want to marry you, truly and officially." "We're already engaged, remember?" Paula lifted her left hand where the ring shone. "I proposed at the station, under pressure and in desperation," he said. Lorenzo wanted to do it right this time. He wanted to propose the way she deserved. Before Paula could respond, the doorbell rang. "Are you expecting someone?" Lorenzo asked, smiling. "Perhaps," Paula replied, looking at him suspiciously. He went to open the door. Paula heard familiar voices in the hallway, and her heart beat faster when she recognized one of them. "Mom!" Paula said when her mother, Carmen Martin, entered the dining room arm in arm with Lorenzo. Carmen looked radiant, healthier than Paula had seen her in years. The surgery had been successful, and the recent months of recovery had brought color back to her cheeks and vibrancy to her eyes. "Hello, my dear," Carmen said, hugging her daughter tightly. "Lorenzo asked me to come for something special," she added. "But Mom, how did you get here?" Paula asked. "Lorenzo sent a car for me this morning, said he needed something important from my house." Carmen replied. Paula looked at Lorenzo in confusion. "What did you need from my mother's house?" Lorenzo walked over to Carmen, who handed him a small antique box made of dark blue velvet. "This," Lorenzo said, carefully taking the box. Paula recognized it immediately. It belonged to her maternal grandmother and contained the family's most prized set of porcelain cups. Lorenzo opened the box and carefully took out 2 elegantly painted porcelain cups that Paula's grandmother had been so proud of. He carefully placed them on the table. "Your mother told me that your grandmother used to serve you tea in these very cups on the most special occasions," he said. "When you were a child, she promised that one day you'd be able to use them when you had something truly important to celebrate." Tears welled up in Paula's eyes. Then Lorenzo did something that completely surprised her. He knelt beside the table, but this time he pulled another ring from his pocket. It wasn't the one he had given her at the station. This ring was older, more delicate, with a design that spoke of history and tradition. "This ring belonged to my Andalusian grandmother," Lorenzo said with emotion.